Ooh, let's park it here. The Titans beat the Raiders 24-22. This is more about the Raiders than it is the Titans. Shouts out to the Titans. Derrick Henry looked like the Derrick Henry of old. It was a dominating performance. But we need to see. People want to start. You know the reason why people start pressing panic buttons is because their expectations are not being met, in a fast enough fashion that allows them to be patient. Some people aren't patient. When you get Devontae Adams in the offseason, when you pay Darren Waller for an extension or with an extension, when you have Derek Carr, when you have Hunter Renfrow, when you have Josh Jacobs, you're expected to compete now. So the fact that the Raiders are 0-3, one of the only teams, actually, I think maybe the only team that doesn't have a win, the panic button starts to get hit. And it starts to get hit because when we first went into the season, what was the chorus sounding idea that went into the season? It was the AFC West is the best division by far. Hell, I went out on a limb and said, yo, this division might have every team make the playoffs. That's how good I thought this division was. And as we sit here today, we will talk about the Broncos in a second, but the Raiders look worse than they did last year. With a different head coach, with a different head coach, with a legit number one receiver. In fact, arguably the number one receiver in the NFL, top 3 tight end secured and healthy. They look horrible. They don't look in sync. I was about to say bye. I was about to make an in-sync joke. I don't even think. I'm corny sometimes. They just don't look good. And the problem is, and the thing that I knew going in, the defense was going to be a problem and the offensive line was going to be a problem. But I thought that because you had Derek Carr, because you had the weapons that they had, they could overcome it. Kind of like what Russell Wilson did a lot in Seattle. Seattle after the Legion of Boom, Seattle didn't have a good defense. Seattle really has never had a good offensive line. They just had, when they had Legion of Boom, they had a historic defense, and they had Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Tyler Lockett. They had pieces. So those pieces, that defense was good enough. Russell Wilson was good enough to overcome a poor offensive line. I thought when you have Derek Carr, when you have Devontae Adams, when you have Darren Waller, they're able to overcome a poor offensive line and poor defense. But that has not been the case. A lot of people are calling for Josh McDaniels' head. Maybe, I don't know. But the Raiders look pedestrian. The Raiders don't look like they had one of the busiest off seasons this year. The Raiders don't look like they acquired arguably one of the best players in the league this year. The Raiders don't look like they have a top 1 receiver, a top 3 tight end, and a fringe top 10 quarterback at times. The Raiders look like a team that have no business being considered for the playoffs. And honestly, I think they said teams that have started 0-3 have missed the playoffs like 97% of the time or something like that. So they could turn it around, but if the Raiders don't make the playoffs, which I don't think they will at this point, it's a failed season. There's some like the Jet. If the Jets make the playoffs, they damn near won the Super Bowl. Because I don't even think they expect themselves to make the playoffs. If the Bears make the playoffs, damn near won the Super Bowl. If the Texans go to the playoffs, damn near win the Super Bowl. If the Raiders do not make the playoffs, 100% failed season.